positions. To me, right, like where we are right now, um, it's a bit like of an inflection point because we're so close to pretty much like having a breakdown similar to what we saw here in January, right? Like similarly, right, we bounced off Valeria low here, but that was just a dead cat into like pretty much this like H4 EMA 200 or anchored VWAP from the highs. Literally pretty much similarly to what we're seeing now, right? Bounced off Valeria low, and the only really thing holding us from the only area that's stopping this breakdown is like between, I'd say, this zone 65 to like 66.4k. Buys keep stepping up here, and I'd noticed like yesterday we had quite a lot of shorts opening here at the lows. If I go on the 30-minute here, hold on, let me turn off this heat map. It was around like, where was it? Yeah, here we had a lot of bottom shorters opening positions here. Open interest was going up quite a lot, and they all got squeezed on this like little move up, right? And on this move up, I believe like that's one. I think this candle here, this one here, was like Iran announced that they were like making plans with Oman to open the Hormuz for some countries. So basically the traders who bottom short yesterday, they all got wrecked. So this area is like keeps getting brought up by buyers essentially, and it's not gonna be easy to break through it, in my opinion. So like longs here are still valid and then like you'd have like a target of like here like 70.9, or like, I mean, if you think we put in a new high, then you'd be aiming for probably these equal highs here at 79. Because one thing I noticed is that usually local hold on, I'll keep it on the 30-minute. That high that we created at 76k, that was a poor high. So if you guys don't know what poor highs or poor lows are, essentially they're it's where like on the TPO, right, is where like price spent more time than necessary there. So usually those aren't like very clean highs, right? You can see here that there are two blocks. Thus, if you get these two blocks in the at the top or a bottom, right, that's what's called a poor high or a poor low, because we want there to be just like one block, one square here, right? Basically as little time as possible here. Like you want like a good high to be like essentially like a quick move up and then a down. You don't want a lot of time spent at tops or bottoms. That would be a strong high or strong low. So this is what you would refer to as a poor high. So there is a chance we could, right? Like it's not impossible that we could go tag that. But in terms of structure, at the moment, it's not looking very likely. It really depends on what happens next, right? Either we reclaim like 69, right? Like here we saw a rejection. My mistake was going like break even right before Trump spoke. So Trump was speaking at like 2 a.m. my time, and I got tagged out break even on this wick. But I mean that's just the price you pay for like, you know, not getting absolutely like you know, fucking what's the word? Not getting like destroyed by this clown Trump, right? So I went risk free here. Like, well, it was around, I think, around this area here, but we should still be in this. But like, in my opinion, this move here is still an internal move because we've not made a new low past this here. So if we get another move up, I'll probably take us like the same short setup, because it now aligns slightly better with the AV web and the H4 200 AMA. The reason I ended up taking this was because this was coming down, right? I set the limit because they were starting to look like they were aligning in the area of this 382, which, if you know, on impulsive moves down, right, you won't really get like deep retraces up. They're usually only 382.5 max, right? So that was the reasoning for that short. But you know, if it goes back up, I still think it's valid. Obviously, it wouldn't look great if if we would close like a H4 above here, but like if we SFP these highs here, then I think that trade would still be valid, and I'd probably retake it if I'm honest. I don't know if I want to set the limits right now, just in case like some news comes out on the weekend, and just like blast us through. But for now, I'll just sit on my hands, and yeah, like I don't think shorting here is the play, because every time someone's tried to like, I mean, I remember I was like scalp shorting here, but like swing shorting, it's a bit, you haven't gotten a confirmation yet. The confirmation for me would be like the H4 close under 65.6k, right? Like similarly here, yeah, we had the bounce of like value area low here, but this was just like a H4 SFP, and then the next candle was just like a big what do you call it, like we saw acceptance basically under that level, and essentially like any retracement here like 382 or like 0.5 was like basically like that's where he would have been looking for a short trigger, and that was a brutal downtrend. So I'll do the same thing this time, right? If we like blast under there, you have pretty clean targets below us, which is like these lows here, which you could argue are like equal lows, because we did this low here that we made on like the end of February, we didn't sweep that. So I'm pretty sure if we get like a 4-hour close under here, we see these lows at least tagged, you know. And then after that, you'd be like, I would probably take profit if I do take a short position, hit like around these lows, and then I'd leave like a runner for this low as well. There is a scenario where like we range here longer than expected, so something like this, right? Like what everyone wants is like just down only, and I understand. Like I think eventually we will get this low here. I've covered this in previous streams as well. I think leaving a limit here isn't like a horrible idea. Like I think like right under it essentially. So that's like one of the setups I'm looking at, is leaving like a limit in for 48.7k, just under that wick low there. And I mean, I reckon people will be trying to short, like they'll keep on you know, bottom shorting this area here, kind of like they were back here. And then I think that's when we see the bounce. Obviously, like I'll update in real time how it looks right on the order flow side, but I think, yeah, if we get that like impulsive move down, I think I know how I'm going to trade it this time. A lot better than this time, because this time I struggled finding entries. But yeah, I think we'll find out soon whether, you know, sellers want to actually win this auction, because currently we're still in a range, right? We could easily bounce back to the highs here, and to be honest, if we get back above value area high, I could definitely see these poor highs getting swept at 76k. Because if we look at the last top, hold on, I have to go back quite a bit. Yeah, that was the last top, right, in January, 98k. I'll show you guys what I mean by like, can you see how here like we spent very little time So here is one block in each at this high at these highs here. So we spent very little time here, and that was like a good indication of like a strong high, because if we spent more time here, then it wouldn't be as good or as strong of an indication that it's a strong high, right? So that's not what we have here at 76k currently. That's like the, let me see. I've got to scroll down quite a bit here. There we go. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. So here, you can see if I zoom in again, unlike the other high, right? Here we have 2 blocks, right? So we spent more time here at this high than the last high. So could this poor high get swept? It's not out of the question just yet. I see a lot of people drawing. Let me go to a cleaner chart. I see a lot of people drawing. Wait, I'll show you. This like this trend line like this. Hold on. From this low, and like this, and then saying, yeah, it looks the exact same as last time, right? And like, yeah, sure, like the same thing could happen, but I'm not ruling out I'm not gonna rule out a high, like another potential high just yet. I still think it's technically possible. Obviously, like if we do lose that low here at on the 4 hour, that's when I would probably accept that we would be closer to a H, like starting the impulsive move to the downside. But until that happens, I'm still like pretty neutral. I don't know whether we do get the breakdown here or we have another leg up higher. So I think we'll find out soon. Also, some news came out recently that some fighter jets got shot down by Iran, some US fighter jets. So that could be like a catalyst for like escalation in the war. I don't really know yet. Nothing's really. It's still like pretty new, but like I believe like the US is trying to rescue the pilots. So we'll see what happens with that. I mean, Trump's probably gonna say something over the weekend, so we'll see what happens with that. I'll cover Sol and ETH, but let's go over Hyperliquid real quick as well, because someone was asking me why I was buying spot, where I did. So here's the thing, right? That on the Binance chart, because Binance listed Hyperliquid pretty late, it doesn't have the data here, but on the April of 2025, we made a low, right, at like $9. Actually, I think if I go, it's on the Bybit chart. I know that for a fact. Let me zoom out. Yeah, here we go. So we made a low here at like $9 ish. And so the reason why I'm buying spot here is because, well, obviously I'm expecting a bounce, but I'm not expecting, something crazy, because the setups I'm looking at are 2 short scenarios for a lower high. So the spot that I ended up buying yesterday, it was around $35, right? But that spot that I brought, that little bit of spot that I brought, is essentially going to be a hedge for if these shorts here don't play out, right? So this first one here of this supply zone, it lines up with, let's see, this anchored VWAP from literally where we topped out, which was like the higher time frame value area high, and it was also equal highs that got swept. So my 2 scenarios would be the 382 from that high, right? This area here, which also lines up with anchored VWAP and this supply zone here. plus the 382. Obviously, I covered that before. If this setup fails, well, then like the only other short setup I think I would see being worth a short would be like shorting the golden pocket here, the 618. Also another like supply zone here that led to an impulsive move down. And I will probably keep this spot running in case these both stop out. So I wasn't too confident for a long here. That's why I just brought a spot, because in case it just like broke down below this like higher time frame 0.5 level. This one here, basically I pulled it from, you know, that low at $9, right? Also that lined up with like demand zone here and daily EMA 200. So it was worth, like, I didn't want to ignore that even though the chart looks pretty bearish, potentially topped out, right? So I just, instead of not longing, I just brought some spot. And if it goes lower without filling us, then I mean, it'll probably be pretty easy to find a continuation setup, because if we can't even have the strength to go up here to at least like this this range point of control, then I mean hype looks pretty cooked for the short term. So that's kind of my thoughts with hype right now. Potentially topped out, right? If I go back on the Bybit chart, I remember I should have set limits for this value area high here at $42, and then probably I would have had pretty wide stops, probably above $50. I mean, if it comes back, I probably would still that could still be a setup worth taking, but for now, like the lower high scenarios I just showed you, I think would be nice to play. So yeah, this is like, I've pulled this from like the start of, I know there's more data on the Hyperliquid, but just for like a visual of like the range, I just drew this, right? So here it kind of front ran the value area low. I didn't really whack it, but I mean, it was close enough to the point where like you should have been looking not for shorts here, but longs. And then now we're at value area high, right? So according to like auction market theory, you should, whenever you're around value area lows, you should look for reasons to get long. And when you're at the highs, you look for reasons to get short. So that's exactly what I'm doing, right? I'm looking for reasons to get short, and for whatever reason, if I'm wrong, then the spot, that little bit of spot that I brought will offset the losses. So yeah, I do think hype trades lower. I think the swing long that I would probably attempt, that I think we will get, is this here at like $29, $30 ish. We've got like a mini demand zone there, plus that's like the value area low from that range that we started in January, or like end of January through to like February, right? This was kind of a range. I would argue that's a range, right? Because we put in a high, put in a low, another high, and it wasn't really breaking out to the upside. And then of course here we got like eventually the leg up, right? So I would probably long around here, like the golden pocket from, or like the value area low from like this range, and the golden pocket like that that's pulled from this low here at $20. So I think this would be like a good area to maybe not just swing long, maybe even add spot, right? For like a longer term buy. But to be honest, for a longer term buy, I would preferably I would want closer to $25, maybe. Like around this value area high here of this range, which is like right above the 786. Between $26 and $25, I think would be really nice. So I'll keep you guys updated in the channel. I'll post these setups here though. So I'll just do the short setups for now, because we're nowhere near the long setup. And yeah, for now, I mean, I think it's up like, I think we're up like, yeah, not much, like 2%. I mean, I didn't go, I'm not gonna sell here. I probably won't sell unless we get like a good reaction from this short and then we go back down. I'd probably get out of this. So yeah, I'm expecting at least a bounce from here. This is a pretty big level. Daily 200 EMA, supply zone from here. Sorry, demand zone. And of course that like the 0.5 level, like the 50% like from the, of this whole massive range, right? From $9 to $60. I do eventually think hype makes new all-time highs, but that'd probably be closer to, I would say, end of the year. Maybe even as like early as like October times. Depends, to be honest. I mean, as most alts were trending down throughout the year, like this was trending upwards. So it's not, you can't really say Hyperliquid is like the other altcoins, but just trending structure wise, and like looking at it on the daily, and from like where it rejected, like yeah, like definitely we could expect a bigger correction. I'm just hoping to get that move up and get filled first. So yeah. Higher time frame, I'm still bullish on hype, but like mid time frame, bearish, right? Bearish until we get like some fills in the longs or spot. So that's Hyperliquid. I'll also cover USD dominance as well. Similar to Bitcoin, but this is, yeah, like, well, pretty much the exact same, right? Just in reverse of Bitcoin. So like we're holding this supply zone here. Of course, like pretty much the exact same level. If we close that H4 above here, that could like signify we at least do like a move up here, even if it's a deviation, ends up being a deviation. I do expect like some sort of momentum up here, so that's where I would look for like scalp slash like intraday trades on Bitcoin. And to be honest, if we go back under, I would say this H4 200 EMA, if we trade back under, then yeah, like I would probably, like I said before, I would probably expect a new low on this to take out those poor highs on Bitcoin, but that's not happened just yet. Pretty much just like the same plan as Bitcoin, just in reverse. So yeah. Also, I'll go over Solana as well. Solana, this one's looking, I mean, well, the thing is, it's like it's already accepted below the Valeria low. So like this volume area, right? Like it's under it, whereas on Bitcoin, it's still above it, right? But the interesting thing here is Solana did a sweep yesterday of this low here into this like demand zone that we had back here from, I believe that was February, right? End of February. So the confirmation for me, like on Solana, that it's probably gonna go a lot lower, would be losing 75, right? That's like a very, if it closes like a 4-hour candle below here, that's where I would argue it looks pretty ugly. Even under here, 77, but that could still, it could sweep, well, it could accept under 77, but then it could sweep those lows here, then close back up and make a move up. So I would say like the actual confirmation would be like losing 75.6 on the 4-hour, and that would probably be a trigger for lower, right? I would probably look at these lows, to be honest. this one isn't looking too hot on the higher time frame. I would say I wouldn't be surprised if Solana at least hits like, I would say the zone here. So like basically where it was previous supply, arguably now like flipped into demand, right? Because we've been above it for so long. I would expect to see some like buyers step in around these levels. So between 30 to 37, you know, swing long slash spot, I think wouldn't be, you know, a bad idea if we get here. Well, yeah, I would probably have quite wide stops in case. I mean, I would probably cut the trade if it closes under here, but I would at least expect at the minimum a dead cat bounce. At minimum a bounce from this level. My targets would probably be, I mean, you could argue this thing here was ranging for quite some time. Let's see, I'll include the whole price action, let's see. Okay. Yeah, so if I was to buy Solana like around 39.40, selling it at like 120, that would be a 3x. So at this value area low. And I mean, thing is like, you could argue that would be selling quite early, but I mean, that wouldn't be a bad trade. That's like over 200% right there. So I don't think that would be a bad trade at all. But this would probably be better off as a spot buy rather than like, because you'd have to pay, if you were swing long on this, you'd have to be sitting for months and paying funding fees. And like if we're in a bull run and everyone starts longing again, funding fees will be like crazy if everyone's longing, right? I don't know if you guys remember, but in 2024, like the funding fees were insane at the start of the year, at least, right? Yeah, because everyone was like, compared to now, at least, like the funding fees are pretty insane. Was most people were long. That's why like randomly on days like you'd have like, you know, like 20% wicks on altcoins, because you know those liquidation cascades during a bull is pretty wild. Right now there's like because it's a bear market, there's less people, I'd say, trading on leverage. So I mean, it's not as brutal. And out of nowhere, like in a bull market, right? The worst I've ever seen was October 10th of last year. That was mental. But you know, we also saw similar things back here in 2024. That was pretty bad in the August of 2024 when like Japan hiked their rates. That was a pretty big lit cascade. So, you know, next year, like I expect those to return, right? Once we start climbing up again. So yeah. If you guys have any alts you want me to look at, just pop them in chat. Let's see. Last stream I also covered indices a little bit. So I don't know if you guys look at them or trade them, but in my opinion, they looked like a lot more bullish than I thought they would. Well, I would still say this is like pretty bearish chart because we've accepted under. This was like a long idea that I shared in the channel. Well, during one of my live streams here. And then I remember like my short plan was to short the golden pocket here, which you can see like it basically had like no reaction. And yeah, this was the first short at the end, this was the second for me. So we're kind of like around entering the second one, but chart wise, like this is pretty much looking like it's looking like what would you call it, a range reclaim, but it kind of depends on how the weekly candle closes, to be honest. Higher time frame, like this is looking very similar to the tariff crash here, so we'll see. I'll look along these levels with the group once they get hit. CC Ondo, okay. I remember this coin, CC. This was a new coin, right? I remember some people trading it. Okay, what the fuck? I don't remember drawing any of this. Okay. Well, I guess this played out. Well, I don't really remember any of this, so I'll just get rid of it. Let's start on higher time frame, and then I'll go to lower time frame. I don't know what this wick is. Is that wick on every exchange? There's more data on Bybit, it seems. Okay. Okay, wow. So it is above. Let me put in this as well. Okay, so like daily structure, right? Arguably is still, I would argue like the low that's created this like high here was like, so I'll draw it like this. Look, we put that move in, and then this was just basically like, I'd say up only. So the last low that created that high was here, right? So let me see here. It closed the daily under that, so what does that mean? It means that's the daily structure break, for me at least, by my standards. For it to break structure again and be bullish, it would need a daily close above this level here. So this was an attempt, but it ended up closing as an SFP. So structure-wise, it doesn't look great here, and this just looks like, you know, a loss, starting to lose like momentum. But it's not really my style. But I've seen, you know, some people draw trend lines like this. But look here, like you could, like it was breaking out here, right? But then we just flopped back down. So that's why I don't really use them that much. But listen, if we flip to lower time frames, what does it say? I mean, it's below both EMAs, but I mean, if you consider this like a range, so let me see. I mean, I don't know how much you would consider this a range, but I mean, say like once we started accepting under there, pretending this is like a clean range, but I mean, this is just for us to see where like most of the volume was traded. If we get back and move into like the value area low here, I mean, I'd say you put stops, you would enter, put stops there, and then it's not the greatest risk to reward, if I'm honest. But if you're bullish on this coin, you can go break even once it hits value area high. And if you think it's going to do a new high, right, like I would say there's no equal highs, so I mean, but of course, like with these new listings, like sometimes they can go really stupid just because there's like they're less volume coins, and people can push them up really hard very quickly. I was thinking for the long-term spot. Okay, long-term. So I personally wouldn't do anything like right now, just because daily structure did flip bearish here, like because we closed under there, right? Daily structure flip bearish. My thing would be for the daily structure to flip that bullish, right? If it closes above here, I mean, that's where you would probably want to position in a long. But for spot, I mean, if you even listen. Okay, wait. I'm not selecting the right tool. Let's see how much of a pullback this is given. Yeah, it's not really, for me, like, in like a good spot area. I think like at this demand here, I think that's where you would probably want to buy spot. So 0.11. I think if we get down here, I think we would see at least like a decent bounce. Like I mean, I think I would at least like 20 to 30% at the minimum, right? But if you're aiming for like 100%, you could also target that. But at the minimum, if we get to this demand zone here, which also lines up with golden pocket, I think that would be clean. Yeah, like you'd be surprised how well some of these setups. It may seem simple, but I mean, you can just argue, right? This down candle led to an impulse up. Or every trader looking at like demand zones or like Fibonacci retracements will be wanting to buy here, right? So that's probably where the bidding will happen if it does come here, right? Buying here, it's a little bit risky, and I mean it looks like it's losing momentum for now. It's below, like it's literally below like every EMA. So below anchored VWAP as well. Yeah, I would probably wait for the setup. This one, I think that would be cleaner. And then yeah, I mean, you could target like, I would say this high here. Oh wait, let me turn on the labels. Oh yeah, BCH. I'll do BCH and then under. Okay. I remember checking BCH the other day. You know, it had a massive. Yeah, this one. It had a massive. Oh wait, no, it wasn't this one, was it? No. No, it was more recent. Yeah, it was this one. It had a massive correction, and I actually was looking at this. So let me see. Let me turn these on. Okay, so it actually tapped the 786. I didn't short, but I mean I was planning to. I mean this doesn't really look. I mean it's super bullish. Like higher time frame, it looks pretty bearish. It looked like it's starting to. For the longest time, someone was T-wapping this, and like buying. They were fucking buying every time I hit this EMA here, the black line, the H4 200 EMA. But I mean, it seems like they stopped because we're now making lower highs and lower lows. So I'm not exactly super bullish on this one. These equal lows finally got tagged. So if this is still a range though, right? I would say honestly, these are equal lows as well, right? So equal lows are like, if you don't know, like a draw in liquidity. It's where like two lows that are really like close to each other but haven't been swept. So longing before this has been like taken is pretty risky, and considering like we haven't made like any sort of like the structure right now is pretty bearish. So I'm not super confident on long in this one just yet. Maybe on like a lower time frame setup, like a scalp. Oh man, is this even, did this get swept here? Let me just, nah, are you kidding me? Those are, yeah, this is getting swept. Okay, I'll tell you the setup. So I'll keep an eye on this. I'll actually set alerts, but say we like put in a new high, then we sweep that and close above. I'll probably long, hold on. Thing is, I can't really, I'll show you an example of what I mean, but I'll probably long like, once we close above the high that swept these equal lows, that's where I'll probably long. But I don't mean, it's not happened yet, right? So I can't really show you. And then I'll probably target tighter entry like this. And target this value area low here. So the thing is, I want to turn the price labels up. I'll post it in chat, but this isn't really, the point is like, this is not a limit order or anything, but this is basically what I want, is I want these equal lows to get swept here. And then if I see like any acceptance above the high that swept those lows, I'll look to long this, like scalp long towards like these highs or this value area low here. But again, like on the higher time frame, I mean, this is likely to get taken at some point. So yeah, I'll be watching this for a long. Hold on, let me set an alert at these equal lows. This is probably a setup like I'd post on Twitter, to be honest. Like, I don't usually trade these altcoins as much. And then I'll do under. I've not looked at this one for a while. Oh god, this looks horrible. Higher time frame. I mean, it really is like instead of chart with more data. I mean, not really. So what do we have here? That's like weekly demand, right? If we're starting from the weekly candle. I mean, listen, if we're talking about risk to reward, this is it, right? But honestly, what is it with these coins? They say they're backed by BlackRock and bullshit. Yeah, so, well, that was like the narrative, right? Like in 2024, the real world assets. That narrative like has sort of died now. I think it's more about like AI. I feel like that's why this like a lot of real world asset coins kind of went to fucking zero. I don't know, maybe in the next bull run that narrative comes back, but I don't know. I don't see it happening. Tau was catching a bit because of the AI narrative, and but yeah. But look, so weekly structure on this obviously looks terrible, but it is in weekly demand, so like definitely could, like, even if you had brought this coin like at like the 50% of the demand zone, so like here, and then sold once it got to the other end, like that would have been 17%. I know that's what a lot of people do in especially in bull markets, when like you get like pretty big drawdowns on alts. But here, like, this is a pretty like, from what I can see, it's a cleanish range. So if we draw this, Hold on, let me put this like this. Alright. So you can see, like, at least at the lows, it's been like nice deviations so far. So if we do the same thing again, hold on, let me actually move this back as well so I can see the candles better. I would say for me, like, taking out these lows and then reclaiming value area low would be probably the setup for me on the maybe this low as well, we'll see, but yeah, like something like this, and then like I'd look to target or like even leaving like a limit order, right? Wait, actually I'll do it this way. There was high there. Yeah. I mean, this could either be like a, because we could get like a quick wick down, sweeping that, and then like quick sharp rejection upwards. So maybe something like this, and then I believe those are equal highs, so that probably gets taken, yeah. I think that'll be a clean 3-hour setup. Like that. But yeah, this like a real world asset narrative kind of died. I think next cycle is gonna be like AI, maybe some like I don't even know. Probably more perp dexes, right? Like Hyperliquid. So yeah.